Hi, my name is Susan Medeiros. I'm the managing editor of the One Network, and I'm here today at Glaucoma360, and I'm talking to Dr. Gary Novack about the latest in glaucoma medications. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So tell us, based on what you've heard today, but also what you know over the industry, what are the new drugs that our doctors can anticipate being able to use in the future?
Well, thank you, Susan. I'm happy to be here today. There are, as a clinical pharmacologist, I've been involved in the development of drugs for many years. And so I tend to think about drugs into different categories. One is, of course, taking existing drugs and finding better ways to deliver those, either with changing formulation of eye drops or in some of the things we heard today about new drug delivery technologies, such as different ways to, say, implant long-lasting drug delivery systems. I also then think of new chemical entities, and then I finally think of both new chemical entities in new classes. So the first one is probably the shortest list. We could start there. And one of the new classes that's being looked at are Rho kinase inhibitors. There have been a number of those drugs looked at in clinical trials by a number of companies. Probably the most advanced is Aerie Pharmaceuticals. I'll disclose that I'm a consultant for them. I'm not a stockholder. And they're currently in phase 3 development in the US and in Canada for a Rho kinase inhibitor, which has the number of AR13324, which is in phase 3 development. We just had a publication in Ophthalmology in February on a phase 2B study showing the efficacy and relative safety of that molecule. So I would say in America, that's the most advanced. In Japan, KOA has looked at a Rho kinase inhibitor that I believe is actually been filed for registration in Japan, but I don't know any more update on that, and it's probably not at that stage in the US yet. So that's new class, new chemical entity. And again, this is sort of just my gestalt from hearing what I've heard today in the meeting. In terms of new chemical entities in an existing class, there is a product which originally came out of Glaucoma Research. That's a French company. Again, I'll disclose I've been a consultant to them. And that is latanoprostene bunod. It is being developed through Valiant and Bausch & Lomb. They have completed phase 3. That is a combination, if you will, of latanoprost, an existing molecule, with nitric oxide. And they are just now sort of presenting what are the features and benefits of that molecule. And they've announced that they'll be planning to submit an NDA, a new drug application, to the FDA sometime in 2015. So then there's sort of a pause, and there are, I'm just trying to think of other molecules. There are some other molecules that are in various stages of clinical development, some molecules that work on the adenosine receptor. There's not a lot of full papers on those, maybe abstracts at meetings. I don't believe we've heard much about some of these other new chemical entities here at this meeting. Then we kind of come down to delivery systems. And there was a panel, it's always a big panel, probably somewhere around 8 or 9 speakers today on various ways to deliver medication. I think we know with glaucoma that it is, we know, and again, I've worked together with my colleague Alan Robin in Baltimore. We published a number of papers, as have many others, that patients just don't always take their medications. They don't take them at the right time, and eye drops are hard for some patients to use. So we're trying to find a better way to deliver what I call today's medications for these patients. One could argue in the same analogy, say if everyone just put their tires at proper inflation, we'd save millions of gallons of gas. If everyone just took today's medications the right way, they probably would work better for some patients. But it's a little Pollyannish to think that, human nature is human nature. So there's a lot of different companies in various stages of development. Allergan talked about an implant, a bimatoprost implant, using the technology they licensed from Oculex, the same technology that's in the Ozurdex dexamethasone intravitreal implant. They said they're in phase 3 there. There are at least 2 companies looking at punctal plugs. Also Envisia, another firm, and I'll disclose that I consult for them, announced they're in clinical trials with a travoprost implant into the anterior chamber to deal with glaucoma and kind of a host of other areas. What we did here is it takes a long time to do drug delivery. I was involved in the Vitrasert, which was ganciclovir to treat CMV retinitis, and also the Retisert, which was fluocinolone acetonide to treat uveitis. And these are kind of known molecules in diseases where we know those molecules would be effective. Nonetheless, it still takes a long time to do drug delivery. One way of looking at it is there's just a lot more variables that you have to deal with. So we heard a lot of exciting news. On the other hand, unfortunately, nothing coming very soon to ophthalmologists and to their patients. I think the other good news that I presented at the beginning of my session is that investors continue to invest in ophthalmology in general and in glaucoma in particular. And in America, we're a capitalistic society, and for the most part, new drug development comes from for-profit firms. It's capital, and we need that capital in order to do that. The good news is that people still think ophthalmology is worth the investment, that patients' vision is very important to patients, and frankly to payers. Payers will pay for ophthalmology. So that means that's good for the ophthalmologists and good for the patients. So those are the general areas in which I heard today about new therapies, new pharmacotherapies coming in glaucoma.
Terrific. Well, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.